Welcome to another bar walkthrough video from SuperfastCPA. I'm Logan, and in today's video, we're going to be going over bar area 1. This is section B4. This is a remembering and understanding topic. Recall the purpose and objectives of the COSO ERM framework. And we're going to be doing that the SuperfastCPA way, which is diving straight into the questions to learn the material. Now, if you don't know much about our strategies, make sure you go to superfastcpa.com and sign up for our free 1-hour webinar training. Again, in that 1 hour, we will teach you the key ingredients to passing the CPA exam so you don't waste months or even years of your time failing exams. So make sure you check out the webinar, and after you watch that, you're going to want to learn more, so make sure you also check out becoming a Superfast CPA Pro member. Pro members get access to the full versions of these YouTube videos. So in today's video, we're only going to be going over 5 questions, but Superfast CPA Pro members will get access to the full 10-question video so that they can get a little bit more help and a little bit more understanding. So make sure you check out the webinar and make sure you check out becoming a pro member, especially if you like these videos. With all that said, let's dive straight into the questions for this video. All right, here we are at question 1, and as we dive into these questions, I just want to say up front, this topic isn't extremely difficult, but it is kind of a base topic that we need to understand so that we can do the next 1 or 2 blueprint topics. So we need to understand the COSO ERM framework and just kind of the ideas behind it before we dive into any of the other blueprints for this topic. So even though this might not seem super difficult, again, this is something that we need to understand for future topics. So let's dive into this. Which of the following best states the COSO definition of enterprise risk management, or ERM? Okay, so let's go through the options. Option A, a process affected by an entity's board of directors and management designed to provide absolute assurance of eliminating all risk. Option B, a compliance-focused checklist for identifying and avoiding risk in daily operations. Option C, a strategy for internal auditing that emphasizes risk identification in financial reporting. Or Option D, the culture, capabilities, and practices integrated with strategy setting and performance that organizations rely on to manage risk in creating, preserving, and realizing value. Okay, so again, which one of these best describes or defines the COSO ERM framework? Now, if you have any idea what this is, then you probably already know the answer. If not, though, that's okay. We are going to learn the definition of COSO ERM so that we can then learn more about it in the other questions as well. So let's dive into the explanation together. All right, here we are at the answer. D, the culture, capabilities, and practices integrated with strategy setting and performance that organizations rely on to manage risk in creating, preserving, and realizing value. So that is like the official direct definition of COSO ERM. Again, this is the official COSO definition of ERM. The framework emphasizes that ERM is not a checklist or standalone process, but a comprehensive and integrated part of how organizations operate. It connects risk management directly with the creation and preservation of value, recognizing that risk is inherent in pursuing objectives. It also reinforces that ERM must be embedded in culture and decision-making processes, especially strategy and performance. So choice A, B, and C, they misrepresent the whole scope and purpose of all this. So again, the idea is it's cumulatively, or it encompasses the culture, capabilities, and practices that the company integrates into their strategy and performance so that they can manage risk by creating, preserving, and realizing value. Again, that is the direct, exact definition, so make sure you remember that. Now let's go to the next question. All right, here we are at question 2. Which of the following best illustrates how the strategy and objective setting component of COSO ERM supports the overall purpose of the framework? Now, you may know with COSO that there are multiple components and those have their own principles. We're not diving super deep into those in this video because, again, we're just learning about the purpose and objectives of COSO. We're not learning specifically about the components or principles directly, but we are going to kind of mention them and talk about them a little bit throughout the video. Let's go through the options. Option A, it ensures that management identifies all operational risks after the strategic plan is finalized. Option B, it guarantees that risk management decisions are made by external consultants to avoid bias. Option C, it integrates risk considerations into the strategy setting process, helping ensure objectives are aligned with the organization's risk appetite. Or Option D, it replaces the need for strategic planning by focusing entirely on compliance with internal controls. Okay, so again, what is the strategy and objective setting component of the COSO ERM? How is that helping with the purpose of the framework that we just learned in the first question? Again, we learned the definition there. So think about this. Maybe give it a guess. If you have no idea, that's okay. We are using these questions to learn the material. So let's dive into the explanation if you don't already have an idea. All right, here we are at the answer. C, it integrates risk considerations into the strategy setting process, helping ensure objectives are aligned with the organization's risk appetite. Okay, so that is how strategy and objective setting, that component of COSO ERM, supports the overall purpose of the COSO ERM framework. So let's go through this. A core purpose of COSO ERM is to help organizations achieve their strategy and business objectives while managing risk appropriately. And again, based off the definition we learned in the first question, that makes sense. The strategy and objective setting component supports this by ensuring that risk is factored in up front when strategy is being set and objectives are defined. This helps management avoid unrealistic or misaligned goals and ensures risk appetite guides planning. The other options either misstate the purpose, A and D, or describe something COSO ERM doesn't promote, which was option B. So again, how does strategy and objective setting help the COSO ERM purpose and objectives? It helps by making sure that they know the risks up front and they factor those in when their strategy is being set and their objectives are being defined. So with that, again, we learned a little bit more about the COSO ERM and one of the components and how that helps it with its purpose and objectives. Now let's go to the next question. All right, here we are at question 3. One of the objectives of implementing an effective enterprise risk management or ERM program under the COSO framework is to, let's go through the options. Option A, reduce performance variability and improve alignment between risk and value creation. Option B, guarantee achievement of strategic objectives regardless of external conditions. Option C, eliminate all risk through rigid internal control procedures. Or option D, shift accountability for risk management from management to the board of directors. Okay, so again, what is one of the objectives of implementing an effective ERM program? Now, honestly, based on these options, if you think through these, one or two of them will obviously be incorrect. So think about this. Think about kind of just logically what would be a good thing when it comes to the effective enterprise risk management program. And then when you're ready, come back, we'll look at the answer together. Again, you can logically think your way through this one a little bit so that one or two of them are obviously wrong, and then the other two or one are more likely correct. So pause the video, think about this one, and when you're ready, come back, we'll look at the answer together. All right, here we are at the answer. A, reduce performance variability and improve alignment between risk and value creation. And again, that one probably made the most sense, especially what we learned about in question 1 and 2. COSO ERM is not about eliminating risk, it's about managing it intelligently. One of the framework's key objectives is to reduce the variability in performance outcomes by anticipating and responding to risk in a way that helps the organization stay aligned with its strategy and risk appetite. One thing I will say, if you see pretty much anything in the CPA exam, especially with audit, but of course a little bit with this bar exam, where it says that their objective is to completely eliminate all risk or completely make it so that there's no control deficiencies ever, things like that, that's pretty much always the wrong answer because that's pretty much impossible to do. So if you ever see something where it's a guarantee that the strategic objectives will be met, or it's eliminating all risk, those are going to be obviously incorrect because as most things are in the world, it's almost impossible to be 100% perfect 100% of the time. So again, the whole point of implementing an effective ERM program is to reduce the variability in performance compared to what they were planning and what they were strategizing and compared to their risk appetite. So because of that, this leads to more stable value-driven performance. The other options either overstate ERM's guarantees, again, like I was saying, option B, or misplace responsibility, and that was option D, or suggest an unrealistic goal, which was option C. All of the other options just really are just either too vague or too broad or just pretty much impossible. So again, one of the objectives of implementing an effective ERM system is to reduce performance variability, not eliminate it because that's pretty much impossible, but reduce it and improve that alignment with the risk and the value that's created. So with that, now let's go to the next question. All right, here we are at question 4. Which of the following best describes a limitation of the COSO Enterprise Risk Management Framework even when it is effectively implemented? So even if you effectively implement one, what is one of the limitations of it anyway? Let's go through the options. A, it prevents all risk from occurring if controls are strong enough. Option B, it guarantees achievement of all strategic and performance objectives. Option C, it cannot address financial reporting risk and is used only for operational risk. Option D, it is still subject to uncertainty, human error, and external factors beyond management's control. Okay, so again, which one of these best describes a limitation that is going to be there even if it's effectively implemented? Based on these options, I think you could kind of think through this, figure this out. So when you're ready, come back, we'll look at the answer together. All right, here we are at the answer. D, it is still subject to uncertainty, human error, and external factors beyond management's control. Okay, so let's go through this. That should make sense. Even with a well-designed and properly implemented ERM framework, or pretty much any framework, organizations cannot eliminate all risk. COSO ERM acknowledges several limitations, including uncertainty, complexity, judgment errors, collusion, and external events. These are things that no matter what they do, those risks will still be there. These are natural constraints of any management system. The goal of ERM is to support informed decision-making and reduce performance variability, not to create a perfect or risk-free environment. Like I said, that's impossible. The other choices reflect common misconceptions or outright inaccuracies. So again, out of the other options, it's just not possible or not really logical. Whereas with option D, this is something that is true in pretty much everything. Due to uncertainty, you have no idea what's going to happen in the world. due to human error and just things outside of your control, those are the things that are going to be limitations and weaknesses of any ERM framework. Okay, so we learned a little bit about that. Now let's go to the next question. All right, here we are at question 5. Which of the following best describes responsibility for enterprise risk management under the COSO framework? Okay, let's go through the options. Option A, ERM is primarily the responsibility of the internal audit department as an independent evaluator. Option B, ERM is led by the board and management with responsibilities integrated across the organization. Option C, ERM is implemented by external consultants who operate independently of management. Or option D, ERM is owned by compliance officers who focus on regulatory risk and reporting. Okay, so who is responsible for running and creating the ERM framework for any given company or entity? Think about this. When you're ready, come back. We'll look at the answer together. All right, here we are. The answer is B. ERM is led by the board and management with responsibilities integrated across the organization. So let's go through this. COSO ERM emphasizes that risk management begins with the board of directors and senior management, who set the tone at the top, and you may have heard that before, and integrate ERM into strategy setting and day-to-day operations. While internal audit and compliance may play supporting roles, ERM is not siloed, as in, it is embedded across all functions and levels of the organization. It's not in just one spot. It's something that is across the whole organization. But again, who's responsible for implementing it? The board of directors and especially management. This enterprise-wide approach is essential for ERM to fulfill its purpose of supporting strategy and creating value. And that makes sense. Even though it's the responsibility of management and somewhat the board of directors to make it and kind of create it, it's the responsibility of pretty much the whole organization to implement it and try to make sure that things go correctly. So with that, we learned a lot in just the first 5 questions. Now, before we do anything else, let's do one more part of the SuperFast CPA process called pillar topics. Now, the idea behind pillar topics is as you're going through the questions to learn the material, you will notice the things that keep popping up. You've seen 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 questions trying to teach you about the responsibilities under the ERM or teaching you about one of the components of ERM or whatever the case is. Again, you notice these things as you're going through the questions and you take a moment and write them out in your own words so that you have the key points, the pillar topics based on the questions of what you learned and what you need to know for exam day. And as you do this each day, it's going to be building up and you're going to have your own personal repository of the most important things you need to know for the exam based on, again, the most important things you learned from the questions. So with that, let's go ahead and look at the pillar topics for this video. All right, here we are at the pillar topics. Let's just go through each one. First off, COSO ERM definition. Enterprise risk management is the culture, capabilities, and practices integrated with strategy and performance that organizations use to manage risk in creating, preserving, and realizing value. So it is the culture, capabilities, and practices mixed with strategy and performance. So that's what it is. And organizations use that to manage risk in creating, preserving, and realizing value. Now, what's the purpose of COSO ERM? The purpose of COSO ERM is to help organizations achieve their strategic and business objectives by identifying and managing risk proactively. That's kind of like it in a nutshell. Objectives of COSO ERM. COSO ERM aims to reduce performance variability, support better decision-making, align risk with value, and enhance stakeholder confidence. And, we kind of just learned that throughout the video so far. Now let's talk about the limitations of ERM. Even effective ERM cannot eliminate all risk. It is limited by factors such as human judgment, errors, collusion, and external uncertainty. So things outside of their control will always be limitations of ERM. And then finally, let's talk about the responsibility for ERM. ERM is led by management with oversight from the board and must be integrated across all levels and functions of the organization. So even though management is in charge of it with help from the board, this needs to be across the whole organization. Otherwise, of course, it would pretty much be pointless. Now with that, we went over the pillar topics and the first 5 questions for this video. And remember, for SuperFast CPA Pro members, they will get the full version of this video where I'm going to go over another 5 questions with them so that they can get a little bit more help and a little bit more understanding. So if you like this and you like this YouTube video, remember that you only got 5 questions today, but if you want to get more, you can become a pro member to get access to the full versions of these videos. And the easiest way to do that is actually by going to superfastcpa.com and signing up for our free 1-hour webinar training. In that 1 hour, we will teach you the key ingredients to passing the CPA exam, and it will give you a great path to learning about and becoming a SuperFast CPA Pro member. So check out the webinar, become a pro member, and you'll get access to the full versions of these walkthrough videos. Now with that, I hope that you liked the video. If you did like it, make sure to like it and leave a comment. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the next video.